Hello learners, I am Dr. Laila Simon, Associate Professor in the Department of Management of the Bhopal School of Social Sciences. Welcome to this module on consumer behavior, and in this module we will learn what is consumer behavior and consumer buying decisions. We will also discuss stimulus response model of buyer behavior and the stages in the buying decision process. Before we begin, let me ask you a simple question. Who is a consumer? Yes, you guessed it right. We are all users of goods and services, and so we all are consumers. And consumer behavior describes how consumers make purchase decisions and how do they use and dispose of the purchased goods or services. Understanding how the consumers make purchase decisions can always help the marketing managers in several ways. A very important area for marketing firms is to determine the decision maker for buying. For example, while buying a car or a house, men take most of the major decisions. For buying baby care products, mostly women take decisions, and for an event at home or planning a vacation or a tour, majority of the family members together take a decision. So it's very essential that the firm has to find out the characteristics of such decision makers who can influence and to make a purchase. Let's look at the different participants in any consumer buying decisions. An initiator is a person who first suggests or maybe thinks of an idea of buying a particular product or a service. An influencer is a person who gives more information or views and advices which can influence the final decision of buying a product. The decider is a person who ultimately decides to buy a particular product depending upon whatever be the situation. And the buyer is a person who makes the actual purchase, but still the user is a person who will consume or use the product. Well, consumer behavior is very complex as the needs, the wants and demands of human beings are innumerable, and the buyers very often influenced by various internal and external sources. This has prompted the marketing experts to propound certain consumer behavior models which explains the buying behavior patterns. Let me explain you one such model, which is a stimulus response model, in a very simple manner. The model shows marketing and other stimuli entering the buyer's black box and producing certain responses. The marketing stimuli consists of the 4 P's, that is the product, the price, place and promotion. The other stimuli consists of major forces and events in the buyer's environment like economical, technological, political and cultural. Now all these stimulus pass through the buyer's black box and produce a set of observable buyer responses like the product choice, the product or the brand choice, the dealer choice, the purchase timing and the purchase quality. The task of the marketer is to understand as to what happens in the buyer's black box between the stimuli and the responses. Keep in mind that the consumer behavior is influenced by cultural, social, personal and of course psychological characteristics. So now let's understand the stages in the buying decision process. While buying products, particularly new or expensive items, consumers really follow the consumer decision making process. the first stage of which is need recognition. This occurs when consumers are faced with an imbalance between the actual and the desired states that arouses and activates the consumer's decision making process. Need recognition is triggered when consumer is exposed to either an internal or an external stimulus. Internal stimuli are occurrences you experience, such as hunger or thirst. For example, you may feel your stomach growl and then you realize that you are hungry. External stimuli are influences from an outside source, such as someone's recommendation of a new car, a brand mentioned by your friend, or could even be an advertisement which was very catchy. After recognizing a need or want, consumer searches for information about the various alternatives that are available which would satisfy him. An information search can occur both internally and externally, or in both ways. An internal information search is where the person recalls information which is stored in the memory, largely from a previous experience of a product or maybe even a service. For example, memories of your stay in a hotel. So, by searching your memory, you can remember the good and the friendly services that was provided to you. In contrast, an external information search is, it seeks the information from the outside environment. The consumer's information search should yield a group of brands, and sometimes they are called the buyer's evoked set, also called the consideration set, which are the consumer's most preferred alternatives. From this evoked set, the buyers very often make their choice. After getting information and constructing an evoked set of alternative products, the consumer is ready now to make a decision. The environment, the internal information and external information helps consumers to evaluate and to compare the alternatives. Ultimately, the consumer has to decide whether to buy or not to buy. Consumers do not consider all brands available in the product category, but they do seriously consider a much smaller set. Having too many choices can in fact confuse the consumers and cause them to delay the decision to buy, or in some cases cause them not to buy at all. After purchasing the product, the consumers experience some level of satisfaction or dissatisfaction. If the product meets the expectations, the buyer will be satisfied, and any discomfort felt by the buyer results in cognitive dissonance. I am sure that you have understood how important it is for marketers to know the buyer behavior in order to succeed in any business. That's all from me in this module. Thank you.